I'm Kamal. I'm from the band Flamingods. We mostly grew up in Bahrain. We moved to the UK in 2009, formed Flamingods, and have been on this kind of weird voyage since. When I was putting the tracks together, I just wanted it to be this kind of diverse thing about all the music that really inspires me and that I think other people would enjoy and maybe not know of. So it's just a strange collection, I think, of music I hold quite close to me and listen to on a regular basis. One of the tracks I selected was a great track by a Turkish musician called Barış Manço. Over the years I've become a bit obsessed with music in Turkey in the 60s and 70s because it was just such a great scene, and they were taking influence from the West and the hippie movement there, but then fusing that with their own. It's something that inspires, and we've continued with Flamingods. It's that kind of meet up halfway between Western and Eastern culture, and I think you'll see that a lot of the tracks I put together have that same notion of cultures coming together. People like Terry Riley is something that influences me quite a lot because his music is just so insane, and his signature way of playing keyboard and piano has kind of really influenced the band. And I mentioned a story where we were at a festival in France a few months ago, and this DJ just decides to play this like 20-minute Terry Riley song. Everyone around me was like, what is this? This is nuts. And I had never heard Terry Riley on massive speakers before, and it was just such a crazy experience. I'd recommend it. Well, my introduction to Soundwave Records was quite a few years back. I think it was when they first started as a label that was kind of strictly doing reissues of old music. I remember I was kind of record digging in Brixton one day, and I went to this one store and I was chatting to the guy behind the store, and he was like, okay, you've got to check out these two records, and he gave me an Alice Coltrane record and Soundwave's Ghanaian High Life Special, which turned into like my favorite compilation reissue ever. Still to this day, it's a beautiful record, so many good songs on there. And from then I just kind of got so influenced by them, and I just loved everything they were doing. So a lot of the music I selected is a mixture of the old compilation reissue stuff as well as a lot of the newer contemporary. I'm really into my spiritual jazz, and a good example is Pharoah Sanders, the creator, has a master plan. I think it's a track that's inspired quite a lot of musicians over time, and it's just a really beautiful track that captures a lot of human emotion and kind of spreads positivity, which I think is quite important in this time that we're living in with a lot of kind of darker stuff going on in the world. And I think music like that is quite important to kind of lift people up and elevate them. My dad, whenever he was driving me to school, he would always play me like old Arabic music, and I hated it. I hated it so much, I just couldn't kind of relate to it. And what's funny is over the years I've grown so fond of that music, and I've finally been able to be like, oh, I'm such an idiot for not getting it. A few years ago I found this like massive box about like that tall in my house, and I was like to my dad, I was like, what's in here? And he's like, oh, it's all my old tapes. I'm like, oh, okay. So I opened it, and I just found like hundreds of this amazing music from the Arab world from the 60s up until the 80s, and there was like some gold in there, you know, like I'm finding stuff which looks like these great covers, and I'm like putting them in and just kind of getting reintroduced to all that stuff I was listening to as a kid. Yeah, this one, I'm pretty sure it's an old Moroccan band from the 60s or 70s, but yeah. And again, it's that same thing of East meets West. You have like the dabka in the back and these like totally Arabian keys, but then you also have that solid bass groove which was most likely played on a bass guitar, and I think that's what I love about music. Yeah, it's just great. So yeah, I mean, you can still find all these little tape shops in the Middle East, and I often just go wandering around. You find them in the old markets and souks, and you just kind of have to dig through them, and you just find so much good stuff. And of course, you're only basing it off the cover, but that's even more exciting to me. Just seeing like this beautiful cover and then of the tape, and then going home, putting it on, and it's always a mixed bag. It can be like really terrible, or it can be the best thing you've ever listened to. And this guy is like the equivalent to like Alice Coltrane or something. The K.L. Segal, you know, he makes this really deep spiritual music, and for me it does a similar thing that Alice Coltrane's music does, where it's really hypnotic and it really just takes you to another place by using repetition as a form of kind of seducing the listener. And I used to have baths and listen to this tape, just kind of singing, just like, oh. You know, and this would be playing in the background. And it's got this like great kind of tinny sound, which I love, and it's like the instrumentation almost sounds a bit like maybe jazz music in America, but then you're kind of mixing that with this traditional Indian instrumentation, and it's just the best. He's got this like great deep voice as well. Yeah. I'm a sucker for this stuff. I just love it. It's like maybe some people might find this kind of music kind of boring, but for some reason it just kind of drags me in and kind of, it's just really hypnotic and soothing to listen to. And it's really freeform as well. I think that's another thing that links it to jazz for me. This guy is just kind of like laughing on the record. He doesn't give a fuck, you know. I love that. You know, it's great. It's good bath music. Highly recommended. They even called him the Golden Voice. That was his nickname, I guess. It's true, he's got a good voice. What most influences me as a musician isn't so much other music, but more so traveling and meeting different people around the world. And for example, Majesty was written after we'd gotten back from Nepal. It's like me and two other guys in the band, Sam and Charles. We didn't have anything in mind, we just went there and explored, saw a lot of live music, went to the temples, took field recordings, and I think that's the kind of stuff that inspires me the most. You've got to have endurance, you've got to be a bit crazy if you want to get by in the music industry, because there's so much work around it. The easiest thing is when you're on stage and when you're about to play, but there's so much production, and what makes it feel worth it is when you're finally on stage and you're creating something physical that you can give to other people, and it's nice. You meet a lot of people and these people share their stories with you and you end up becoming friends with them. I think we've made friends with so many of our fans now that we seem to be kind of breaking down the barrier between like the relationship between the two, and I think that it's quite rewarding giving something to the world, you're having purpose. I think for some people it's religion can give them purpose, but for me it's more creating music and throwing that into the world.